So this video is specially made and dedicated to the lots of you who believe stock trading is by buying and holding for 7 years, 10 years, and bazillion years. And that's the same reason why you don't know that it is time for you to leave your toxic relationship, because you think it is by endurance and long suffering. So, what inspired this particular video has to be the lots of comments I have been getting on TikTok, on social media, right? So not towards me, but in the comment section. I found out that when someone asks, oh, what stock can I get? Because on TikTok, it's quite confusing. They don't really know who is the owner of the post and random commentators or just spectators on your post. So now you see people that ask, what stocks can I buy? And then you see someone that tell you, buy so stock and just leave it for 7 years. And I'm wondering, 7 years, 10 years, why do I have to buy stocks and hold for that long? Now, don't get me wrong. It is also a good way to hold. But the question is, on what basis are you holding for that long? Because again, it is not the general perspective everybody has, which I am trying to change, or which I'm trying to cultivate. The real perspective is stocks is something you buy and keep, but you're forgetting that there is something called analysis, which is why today I've decided that, okay, I'm going to stand beside the screen. I'm going to display to you a bigger picture, a different perspective and angle towards stocks, which is the stock analysis. Some people don't know that you actually analyze stocks. So people don't know that there are people that sit down in front of their screens for hours upon hours per day to actually analyze stock. As a stock analyst myself, with over 5 years of experience, I really understand that to make informed decision in the market, you have to analyze both the fundamentals and the technicals. But some people don't know that. What they generally know is buy and hold. No worry, it go rise. But let me tell you something. The same way price can increase, the same way price can decrease. So you can actually hold for that 7 years, and at the end of that 7 years, you still will not make it. You still will not see profit, or you might even crash out all your expenses, or the company might sell out, declare bankruptcy, and move on. Let's take an example from the Bible. We all know the biblical Jacob, the father of Israel, or the father that gave birth to the 12 tribes of Israel, Israel himself. We remember that he was initially in love with Rachel and wanted to marry Rachel. His uncle, who was the father of Rachel, said that you have to work and serve him for 7 years before he gets access to Rachel. Understand this with me. After 7 years, coincidentally, it's still that 7 years that someone mentioned on TikTok. After 7 years, during the ceremony and the handing over of the woman, in the night, they handed over the elder sister of Rachel, Leah. And Leah has one of her eyes bad, according to the biblical scriptures. One of her eyes bad. She's damaged. It is not the choice of, it was not the will, it was not the choice, it was not the selection, but he was handed over, and he knew her that night. He lay with her, and he conceived. No, then, that time is not the time of all these protective measures. Is hit and be successful, right? So now he woke up the next day and saw Leah and said, this is not the investment. This is not the returns of investment I expected. I expected these returns on investment. I have invested 7 years of my life. And what did he say? He said, okay, that he's going to go 7 years again, 7 years more for Rachel. All this story I'm trying to tell you is to explain this concept. You can actually wait for 7 years and not get your returns on investments. So be warned. There is something called supply and demand in the markets. When demand is more than the supply, when demand is more than supply, the value of a share or the value of a company increases, thereby affecting every share that has been bought into that company. Meaning, if you have 1,000 shares valued at, let's say, 1 million, when there is less supply to the demands available for that company, the value of that shares or those shares you have increase drastically. How do you know where the supply level is and where the demand level is? If you do not know where these points are in the market, you'll just be buying freely. You'll just be a floater in between. Do you want to be in control of the market or do you want to be controlled by the market? That's the main question that you've not asked yourself and you need to ask yourself. Stock trading is not a get-rich-quick scheme, right? But if you are positioned well, you can actually make a reasonable amount and sum out of the market. Let me explain it to you, right? So now, there are lots of people, both private and public, that make a shitload of money from stocks because they know when to buy, they know where to buy, and they know how to buy. They are monitoring the market. So when I come to you and tell you, buy GTCO, buy UBA, buy Dangote, buy Apple, buy Airbnb, I'm not just floating to tell you buy it. I have actually studied where the chart is at the moment to know that that is the right place to buy. Say, for example, see S&P 500, right? Hopefully you can see the chart. If you can see the chart, you would see something happening in the chart. If for some reason you had bought some amount when S&P 500 was around this place, right? Let's say you had bought 10 million worth of stocks, right? And the value of this price has risen to this part. Would you have known to sell your shares? What if this thing has risen? Or okay, let's be classical about this. If you had bought S&P 500 from around this point, right? 3 months later, it was around this point. Can you see the massive distance? So let's say, for example, you bought it at 10 million. At this point, you should be grossing anywhere between 90 to 100 million. Would you have known to sell? Would you have known to sell your shares or some of your shares by these 3 months? Or would you have been waiting for 7 years? What is your guiding factor or what is your reason for holding for 7 years when in 3 months you've done more than 100%, more than 500% on your investment? You should have sold and waited for the next what? For the next demand level. So you should be able to know when to buy, when to sell, when to rebuy or rejoin the momentum of the market, when to sell, or when to stack. By stacking, I mean add more positions or get more shares, buy more shares from that same company. So I want to believe that with this session of mine, I've been able to feed you and not to brainwash you that stock trading is not by only buying and holding for years. There is also short-term trading. There's also long-term trading. And you need to learn for you to earn. If you do not have the knowledge, you blindly just keep your money in the market and later say, oh, I left this money for long. It has gone. I don't care. No, you should care. Every single dollar counts, right? Another thing is, if you are buying a company shares at, say, for example, $10, and in 7 years' time, it has only increased by $5, $2, even in 1 year's time, rather. And in a year's time, it has only risen by $2, $3, $4. That's not a progressive company. That's progression, but it's not a progressive company. When there are companies that are moving 100, 150, 200%, 500%, crazy amount of percent, how to spot them is now where that analysis comes in. So this is me using this medium to tell you that if you do not have the proper knowledge of stocks, don't delve into it. Don't go in because of somebody that went in or an advice. It is better and very important, necessary for you to learn it for yourself. And for you to learn that, send me a DM. Join my stock trading mentorship today. Invest in knowledge. Invest to invest. When you invest in knowledge, you'll be able to invest in your financial life. Right? Send me a DM. Join my Telegram community, The Good Tribe. Follow me on Instagram and TikTok at The Good and Block. Subscribe to my YouTube channel and stay continually enriched in financial knowledge. Don't make mistakes this year. This is 2026. Register, stay informed, and build your financial life right. If it is not the good and luck, it is not good luck. Make money and what?